I certainly knew that I was gonna die someday. But what I didn't know is how I would respond. Because like all the things I thought I'd be worried about were not really on the list.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Visit betterhelp.com/Padilla because sometimes existing is exhausting. Hello, Hank Green.
Yeah.
It's hard to even describe what you are popular for because there are so many things.
I don't like to do one thing.
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
I do lots of things.
Some people might know you from Vlog Brothers.
Yeah.
Some people might know you from your many amazing crash courses that help them get through high school and college.
Yeah.
Some people might know you as a co-founder of VidCon. Some people might know you from writing 2 books.
Yeah.
Some people might know you as the Bill Nye for the modern era, which I know that you deny.
I think there's a lot of Bill Nyes for the modern era. We can share the load.
Okay, sure.
The large load.
We love large loads.
I know, me too.
The biggest thing that I know you for is the guy that I smoked weed with 6 years ago.
What? When did I smoke weed with you?
You remember that?
What?
We were in Brooklyn for New York.
Yeah. It was like a YouTube thing.
YouTube thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a fun night. We just walked around. I was a weed newbie.
Yeah, you were new to weed?
Yeah, it was good. It was a good time. Good laughs, good conversations.
Yeah.
That was before COVID. That was before cancer.
Yeah, before TikTok.
Oh shit, it was.
Yeah.
But everything in your life has shifted since then.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of, like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the same guy, but of course you do, right? The sort of opportunities that this job affords is really important to like take a chance and like remember like the cool things that you've gotten to do. And I remember walking out on like a rooftop deck in, I don't know if we were in Brooklyn, and like looking out over the New York City skyline and being like, this is wild that I'm here right now. And with all these cool people and like having these cool conversations and like we're sort of trying to remake media from the ground up and no one understands what it's gonna be.
We don't understand what we're doing.
We don't know what we're doing. Yeah, I've always felt like I was in the room with legends when I'm like hanging out with YouTubers.
It is interesting speaking with other people who have been on the platform for so long. Did you get started in 2006 or 2007?
I uploaded my first video January 1st, 2007.
Everything was completely different. There still aren't any rules, but there were definitely no rules then. It was like, make it up.
Well, yeah, like the idea that someone would spend time making a video.
Well, there was no money to be made then.
Yeah.
It was impossible to make money.
Yeah. So like why would you spend extra time making it? And then like if people put a little bit of effort in it, was like, what is this?
Yeah. I just love talking with people who have been around. Like, it's weird to say trailblazing because it kind of means that I did the same thing too, but like trailblazing in so many different areas. And like you said, you're excited about doing so many things, so you can't just stick to one specific
I'm not good at sticking to one thing. And it's not a strategy.
Right.
I don't think it's better. It's just like, I've just accepted that it's who I am.
Well, you're following what excites you, right?
Yeah.
You're following what you have passion for. And you're in LA right now doing stand-up, which seems so far.
I know, you even
side.
Saying it, I'm like, wow, like shut up. Like it can't be a thing I'm doing.
I was there last night watching your show. It was a sold out comedy club with 500 people there attending that. It was loud, everyone was so excited. You are very, very, very funny. I know that you're like, I don't see myself as a stand-up comedian. I'm not a stand-up comedian.
Well, you have to say it on stage.
Have you felt it? Do you feel like you are a stand-up comedian now?
Look, I don't know. It's a really, like, it's a world that I love very much. And I do feel like I have appreciated it externally for a long time. Like, I have sent my show, like just cell phone videos, to a couple of stand-up comedians who I really respect. And they're like, this is stand-up. Like, you're good at this. And you like, it's wild how natural you seem on that stage. The other thing separating me is that it's really hard and I can't do it the way that it's done in the industry. It's just like so exhausting. Yeah, you said that you enter a fugue state when you're up there on stage and you can't think about anything, it just goes. It just happens. It just goes. And I like, people are like, how'd the show go? I'm like, literally no idea. I will listen to the
You're like, I wasn't there. I wasn't out there.
I will know what happened when I listen to it.
I feel like that was a lot of things that I'm very nervous about. Yeah. Would you say that you're nervous going up there?
Yeah. I'm extremely nervous all day.
Leading up to it.
And then once I'm on stage, I'm not nervous unless something starts going wrong, and then I get extremely nervous very quickly.
I've been trying to figure out how to not, because it's a similar theme with all the things that I'm nervous about. Oftentimes, like driving over here to shoot these interviews, I'm nervous as
Yeah.
and then I get down, I sit down,
Yeah.
it's fine. How do you skip that phase? Like,
I don't know.
Is there a shortcut to skip that phase?
If you find out, let me know.
Because it always ends up being fine, right? And then you're always nervous though.
I think like the only way I've gotten around it is like when I'm on tour, by the 5th night, it's less scary.
You know what? Today it was a lot easier driving over here because I had just done a couple interviews yesterday.
Yeah.
But before that, it had been like a 3 or 4 week break.
Yeah.
And then it's like I entered infancy and I'm like, I'm not capable anymore. I lost it, you know?
Yeah, but also that stuff it works in your favor, I think, sometimes, because then you're like focused on like, what do I need? What are the areas that I most worry about? How do I address those areas?
Well, I wonder if
That's
there's
how
a way.
I work anyway.
I wonder if there's a way to get there though without like the.
I don't know. I think if I wasn't freaked out, I wouldn't rehearse.
So it helps. It's there for a
Like I'm
reason.
driving around LA, like doing my show in the car. And then my GPS is like, you missed the exit like 2 exits ago, man. What are you
You're like,
doing?
I entered the fugue state at the wrong time. It's a very vulnerable show.
Yeah, and I think that absolutely, like getting up close to borders and like seeing where they are and what they are is interesting. And there's actually a fair amount of comedy that like gets up against like what is like sickness, like what is death, like that's to me. Especially with like young people, and I consider myself sort of like just having gotten done with being young.
You just finished this year, last year?
Right around May of last year, I
you stopped being young.
Yeah.
Does that make you old, or like are you in this
just,
like middle stage?
I don't know. We don't need to figure it out right now.
We don't need to put labels on it.
I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
I'm not young anymore.
Okay.
And to think about and talk about illness and serious illness and like the stuff that like we don't like to think about it, but like
Especially
sort
in
of
the
put it
West,
in people's face a little bit.
It's a taboo topic.
Yeah, like I would have moments where I'd write a joke and then I would do the joke and people would not laugh because it's like too close to the line. But then I could sort of like take that even if they don't laugh and use it to like talk about their own discomfort.
That's
and
true.
that doesn't need to. Like, comedy doesn't need to be funny every 15 seconds. There should be seconds where it is. There should be parts where it is.
At least laugh once.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that is something that new comedians might run into is they might feel like you need to make someone laugh. Like every 5 seconds there's a laugh.
Honestly, like, I go through and I listen for any period of time where it goes more than 15 seconds without a laugh.
Oh, you like replay the
and I look at those spots and I decide whether they're worth it or not.
It's like the audience retention on YouTube.
Yeah. Like you don't want to lose an audience when they're in the room with you.
Yeah. It's one thing when they could click away.
Yeah, it's the algorithm not satisfied. I guess I'll make another YouTube video.
Yeah.
If the people in the room aren't satisfied, you're like, I guess thanks for the money.
If they're getting up and leaving, that's an issue. You used this stand-up almost, it seems like as a means to keep a journal.
It's actually where it came from.
To document your journey of going through, finding out that you had cancer, getting chemo, recovering, even down to the moment where you have to tell your wife, you have to tell your mom, you have to tell your child, and what their reactions were like.
Mm-hmm.
And those are such difficult things that I feel like most people would want to forget. They would want to be like, didn't happen, and in this case, you're documenting.
Yeah, almost if I didn't document it, my brain would decide to forget. It's like, I don't want that. There's a bunch of stuff because when you're on chemo, you're like so foggy anyway. Mm-hmm. It's like being hungover forever, but worse. And I was journaling during it, and I was so bad at remembering that a lot of the comedy came from reading those journal, and I was like, that's a good joke that I wrote in the journal to myself that I don't remember writing.
And you're like, I wrote that? That was me? Yeah. You were saying that some things also, in the moment you knew they were funny, but other times it was thinking back on it that was funny.
Yeah. Yeah, like it was not funny at all when we were telling my son that I had cancer. There was no...
You found a way to get laughs on stage though, somehow.
Yeah.
Like it's obviously a horrible thing. And you found a way to mesh your struggles and the trauma and even down to suicidal thoughts. Like you found a way to talk about these real aspects of going through something like that and make it funny and accessible. I think that's the biggest thing, is that it's not just about being funny, it's about being accessible. It's about finding the way to deliver this kind of information in a way that doesn't feel like, ooh, this is a lot. It's like it's broken up.
Yeah,
those
for
laughs.
Sure. It's really changed, like in me, and in ways that I like. Part of, in some ways I don't like. Like I'm much more anxious now, and like I'm trying to work through that, and so It's a whole thing that, and I feel like part of that, honestly, is just feeling almost like this is impossible. This isn't a thing that happens to people. But it is. Like, it's like obviously a thing that happens to people. It happens to people all the time. It's just like, it doesn't get discussed enough. And to some extent, I think that we still have almost like collective trauma from, and obviously cancers are still very dangerous diseases, but like, it's a lot different than it used to be. Mm-hmm. And like chemotherapy is a lot different than it used to be. And like, it is obviously awful, but like symptoms are more easily controlled now. Like people have very different experiences, so you don't know what you're gonna get. We don't have these conversations enough. We don't it just, I had people immediately, the moment I had cancer, think, oh, he's that's a death sentence.
Yeah.
And it's 2024, that, sometimes, but not all the time. And also a death sentence 5 years from now that's a lot of life.
I think it's really important what you're doing because cancer is something that's so taboo that the information is not being absorbed. It's sure, maybe it's out there in some sense, but people aren't receiving it. Mm-hmm. So in this sense, you're finding a way to say, hey, you can recover from this.
This is a shocking stat that I found as I was doing research about this, is that the cancers that are most likely to result in suicide are the most curable cancers because they are cancers in young people, specifically young men. And young men don't necessarily have, they don't have the experience, or young people generally aren't ready for a big change in their life. They're that's not what I imagined my life was gonna be like. I don't want that new life. And even though there's a really high chance that in 6 months they're gonna be back to normal, they can't imagine having to be the person who's suddenly dependent on a bunch of other people, or who has to have a testicle removed, or all this stuff that just all this baggage comes along with it. And they're that's not who I want to be. I don't want to be this person who's a weight on other people around me. I was so surprised. I would have assumed that of course the cancers that are most likely to be to result in suicide are going to be the ones that are most devastating and most likely to kill you. But it's not the case.
It's the young people who never saw their life going that way. There's a point in your show where you talk about how you wish that you could almost split into two and have one part of you go through all the chemo, go through all the growth, go through everything that would result in basically who you are today. And the other part would just get to go to sleep and wake up and then merge or kill that other version of you.
And be I don't need him. It's great. I'm gonna learn so much about myself. It's gonna be great to do cancer. I would murder that. I would just let him do it and murder him. And then you would take back my normal, happy life where I'm not scared all the time about my health.
You mentioned that going through this was just such a reminder of your mortality.
Sure.
Do you think that's one of the bigger shifts?
Yeah. Here's the thing. I certainly knew that I was going to die someday. I always knew that. But what I didn't know is how I would respond when that was a more present feeling. That the things I was, what I actually was worried about, I was surprised. I thought I'd be more worried about my businesses. I thought I'd be more sort of like FOMO for the future, not getting to see whatever happens next in astronomy or
see AI kill us. Yeah, that'd be great to witness, right?
I thought you were talking about the CIA for a second.
Oh, what I said?
You said CAI kill us.
Oh, CAI.
And I was like, is the CIA?
CAI's gonna.
Who's the CIA? Did you mean the CIA? What did we do?
Yeah. We don't talk about.
We don't talk about the CIA enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried about what's my family gonna do without me? I feel needed in that environment, and if I'm not in that environment, they're gonna have to figure it out. So I want to make sure that they're to the extent I can support them while I'm here, I should. And then the thing I was really messed up about is not getting to see my son grow up, which is I even thinking about it. It was that's the best. I'll talk to people who are have adult kids, and I'm that must be awesome. It's just awesome to think this kid, he's 7, and someday he's gonna be out there in the world falling in love and do it, and it's just so mad at his boss about something, whatever
just
it is.
The mundane
it's just so good
moments as well
to know that that's that's coming.
And that was one of the harder aspects. Was kind of
it's the thing that I was I felt like I needed to think about it.
That's shifted your perspective. And
yeah, because I like all the things I thought I'd be worried about were not really on the list.
It seems like it pushed you to try some new things like stand-up. Do you think that you would have tried it?
I know. Here's a wild thing. I have no idea when I decided to do stand-up comedy, I was too out of it. Like when I decided, I was like, I'm gonna write this down. And then when I like reached out to some comedian friends of mine who are in town with in Missoula, and I was like, do you think I could do this? I have no idea when any of that happened. What I was thinking, it's gone.
It's like you woke up one day.
I was in chemo head. Well, I woke up one day and I was like, there's a bunch of videos of me doing stand-up.
So like literally in the moment, do you think it's also the state of trying something so new that makes you so nervous that disconnects you?
Yeah,
dissociates you from it a little bit?
Like, yeah, for sure. And also it's I don't know if this is true for everybody, but like when I'm on stage, I don't make memories. There's too much going on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the next thing. I'm trying to perform. I'm trying to read the audience. There's so much going on. Like whatever part of your brain might be devoted to trying to actually record that data, not functioning.
I feel like things will be very different for you right now if you didn't have the outlet.
Yeah. I feel really grateful for that. I feel really grateful for having like a wildly large community of people supporting me, and like had no idea what it would be like to sort of tell the world. Be like, okay, well, like I couldn't not say because I was gonna have to take breaks and I was gonna lose my hair. So like, it wasn't an option to not be public about it. But then I think it was Greg from Kinda Funny Games. He had the same kind of cancer as me like 10 years ago or so. And I reached out to Greg specifically for that reason. And I was like, I'm just worried that I'm like gonna become the cancer guy. Like I'm gonna be like a cancer influencer now. And I don't want to I want to be like the silly, funny, goofy science guy. And that's what I've been working toward. And like, I love that job, and it's people see me that way. And I don't want them to see me as like the guy who got cancer and he's like doing that. And he was like, first of all, buddy, I don't think you have to worry about that. Like, I think that people will see you and like, once you're through this, which you're probably gonna get through it, it'll fit, like people don't think about my cancer anymore. It was just like true. Like no one thinks about his cancer anymore. But like, secondly, it turned out I was like, within a month, I was like, I'm the cancer guy.
You volunteered that. But
yeah.
Feels like you had to, right?
Yeah. I realized I was like, wait a second, science is happening to me.
Oh, you almost found a way to use it as a driving force, or at least a foundation for being who you've always wanted to be. You've found a way to subtly give some answers to the misinformation as well, and in some sense be an example of this is how your life could be. If this happens to you.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But like, it's life, you know? And like it doesn't end. And like there's fun the whole time. Like even on my worst days, there were chuckles, you know? Like there were things.
That's hard
that
though
I'm
sure for many people. But
yeah,
how do you think you found a way to have that
well,
chuckle?
I mean, one, things felt like they were working. You know, it seemed like the chemo was working. So like I don't want to put myself in other people's shoes. Like it's different situations for different people. But from the beginning, I could almost immediately tell that the swell, like the areas that my cancer was in, were getting smaller. They're not technically tumors, which I didn't say that, but basically tumors. Yeah. I know too many things.
Fact check that, please.
And so like there's that it felt like it was kind of going in the right direction. But also I think it's just like you're a person and you're living a life.
You brought up how you'll get through it. You'll likely get through it. At least, in your case, you'll likely get through it, and life will be different. You can't say if it's worse or better. Life will be different.
It's different. Yeah.
It's different. And there's that, when you're doing something that matters a lot to you, there's this anxiety, there's this nervousness, there's this worry that's attached to it. But with a lot of these things, if it's something fun like stand-up, you can experience all those things and it ends up being okay. But there's signals for you to practice, to beware, to pay attention. And a lot can be said about pain and all that as well, but it almost feels like that is a one-to-one metaphor for life in many ways. It's there are things that you care a lot about, in your situation. Obviously you care about being healthy, and you're worried the whole time. It ends up, in your case, being okay, if we could skip the step of worrying and find a way to be confident in the outcome.
Well, I mean, I've had therapy now, which I had never done before.
You had never done therapy before?
No. And so you probably will be familiar with some things I wasn't familiar with, but
sure.
Just the idea that the anxiety is trying to tell you something. You know, it's speaking to something, and you can't be like, shh, go away, I don't want you.
Right.
Which is mostly my strategy.
Right. And you know, it's not this that you're doing, it's this that you're doing.
Yeah,
it's still in there.
Yeah. I'm not getting rid of it.
It's there.
It's somewhere.
Yeah.
And instead being like, what are you worried about? And it being like, this. And I'm like, that's important. You're right. That's an important thing. And even if you can't do anything about it, just being like, yes, but weirdly, sometimes it's not important. I've had that where it's like, and I'm like, what are you? And it's like this. And I'm like, that's not a thing. That's fake. You made that up. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But that's my former life. Now it's like, you know, secondary cancer's relapse. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's real concerns. We have to be worried about that. And like, you know, we can't be focused on that all the time.
It's interesting that you bring that up. It's like, this is a worry. It's there. And you mentioned this in your stand-up. You can't control your thoughts.
You can't control your thoughts.
Thoughts just happen. You get to control how you react to it. You get to decide how you react to it.
Yeah. It's really a stand-up special about how consciousness is an illusion, and so is the self. Mm-hmm. But we don't need to tell people that.
That's the good tagline. I would watch it because of that, honestly. I'm into that tagline.
Yeah.
You started on YouTube as an educator.
No.
What did you start as?
Just a vlogger, man.
Just a vlogger? Just a vlogger. No education there whatsoever. Just talking, just mouth moving, and God knows what else.
No, I mean, I guess what we started as, and so we were super inspired by Zay Frank and his 2006 The Show. And what was interesting there is like, he was like, I'm gonna make stuff every day, and like everything I do is going to be informed by the feedback that I get. And because that cycle is so fast, it's like video, comments, video, comments, video, comments.
It's the first time.
It's so cool.
It seems like such a normal concept now.
Yeah.
And that is also what drove Ian and I in our early stages to do our sketches, where there's that feedback comment loop. And it seems so normal now, but that was one of the biggest things that drew me to the platform.
Yeah.
Instant feedback. You go and make something else, you've learned something.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't get that privilege with other forms of media that existed at the time.
Yeah, and it also means that like you see them as a part of the creation. We're like, that's the thing that's super sparkly for us, is like, what are we doing with these people, not what are we doing for these people? And so like the first year we made a video every weekday. We'd trade off days. So like some days it'd be 3 a week, some days it'd be 2. And it was like that, like having to make that much content meant that we were not educators, but we made some educational videos. It meant we weren't, like, I wasn't a musician, but I was doing some songs. One of John's first videos, he did like sort of a explainer, and he was talking about like the current situation, like political situation in Nepal, while eating toilet paper. And I'm like, because we were like, I don't know what YouTube videos are.
Like no one's gonna watch a video about Nepal. You got to do something interesting. Let's see. Let's go to the My Strange Addiction page and see what people did there. Okay, it was between that or eating Ajax. So I'm glad you chose it.
He ate 5 sheets of toilet paper, and he sort of like went in on what's up in Nepal at the same time. We just want views, man.
Anything for views has always been a concept, I guess.
Yeah, we just did whatever was interesting, and when you have to make that many pieces of content,
you end up kind of finding it.
You find things, and one of the things that we found was the educational videos did well, but they were a lot of work.
But you slowly did evolve into doing more and more of that.
Yeah, so YouTube gave us some money.
Oh, is that
you
how
remember
you
the original programming grant thing that they did, YTOP? We got some money from that, and we were like, well, these videos do really well, but we can't do them with just one person, because we're like, you know, you work on it for a week, and if you're trying to do that 5 times a week, then you have to have 5 weeks to make 1 week of content, and it doesn't work. So we got money so we could hire people to help us do it, and that became SciShow and Crash Course. And then from there, all of our company that makes that is called Complexly, and Complexly makes a bunch of shows now.
So was Complexly founded because of that?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of those funded projects ended up not going anywhere, but you.
Yeah, funny, most of the ones that were done by YouTubers actually did end up becoming things.
It was the other people that.
There were a lot of Hollywood production companies that got that money and were like, thank you for this money. The moment it runs out, we have other things that we'd like to do.
Yeah. It was a great program. It set up a lot of things. And I know Crash Course specifically helped so many people. Like even here on this set, a lot of people here, like I was there.
So a lot of people work really hard to make those videos.
So that's where you really kind of honed in on education.
Yeah. It seemed like if there was a thing that we were gonna focus on, it seemed like one, we had the ability to, like we'd found that we were good at it and the audiences liked it, which are both very important. And two, it was good. It was like a positive thing to put into the world.
It's kind of that Venn diagram. Like, I like to do it, audience enjoys it, and it is a quality product.
Yeah, and it's not actively destructive to the world.
Right.
Which some YouTubers are like, I don't need that.
We don't need that. That piece of the pie is just gone. 7 billion Orbeez dumped on this lawn. I don't know. What happens to it?
Nature will find a way to deal with the Orbeez.
Yeah, it'll become part of the earth again in 7,000.
I don't think Orbeez are actually that bad for the
Nah, that was just an example. But there's definitely there was definitely a phase.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of prank videos where I was like, oh man, I thought YouTube was good.
Yeah, the content that you guys were making and other YouTubers, I was like, oh, I get it. This is a place where people can learn, and it's interesting how the platform has shifted in a way where like my dad is like looking up how to do whatever around the house, and like people that I know who do not consume YouTube as entertainment utilize it as an education platform or for a how-to, and it seems like it's so integrated into every different type of person now. It's super interesting.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube loves to tout its stats on how many of the video views are educational in some way, and also like you can loop a lot into that. Like you can loop a makeup tutorial into that, and that's
you could look
you're
up
learning.
all the people that I interviewed that became flat earthers because of YouTube.
Yeah, you're learning something.
I learned something. Changed my life.
A great deal of information.
Yes.
Regardless of quality, did enter me.
Right, and that's one of the things that you frequently go back to is fact check. That is almost part of the Hank Green brand.
I've said some things that I'm gonna fact check in this episode.
Already?
Before I.
Okay, are you gonna walk off and come back?
Well, no, I'll make you edit it out if I said something wrong.
Okay, good. So all those weird times where there's hard cuts that don't make any sense, misinformation it's a plague. With every single thing that catches on, every single thing that has something that is so good about it, there is an equal bit of danger / negativity that comes with it.
Yeah, it really pushed me to like look back at previous like huge disruptions in communications technology specifically. So like we think of the most powerful technologies as being like weapons, like nuclear bombs, tanks, even like swords or like mounted warriors, like so like all these things, big. But like by far the most disruptive technologies are in the way that we talk to each other. The thing that we're doing right now, like we vastly underestimate how weird it is. It's like I'm flapping my tongue and like noise is coming out of my mouth and like thoughts are now in your head.
I do not like to think about, and it's just the vibrations in the air.
It's just vibrations in the air,
and they're tickling something in my brain.
Yeah, and as it gets in there,
and I'm converting it into information, and now it's a memory.
I agree with your vibrations.
Yeah, you know what? You got good vibes. I agree with those vibes.
I think those vibrations are right.
I feel your vibes right now.
Yeah.
They interact well with
I guess it's all vibes. As the kids have been saying, it's all vibes.
It's all vibes.
They were right the whole time.
I don't think kids say that anymore, though.
But those kids.
Those
kids that did say that.
There are kids that have said that.
They were right.
Yes. The vibes kids. Yeah.
The thing that like makes me terrified and gives me hope in this situation is that like now we're in the situation where like power dynamics are sort of struggling to figure out what to do with the new communications technology. And what tends to happen is like things get really messy for a while. I don't know how long a while is. I hope it's faster than it was.
We're in the messy, right?
We're in the messy.
Yeah.
When we started making YouTube videos, we were not in the messy. We were in this like cute little spot and we were like, this is so much fun. And
that is why it's so nostalgic for me.
Yeah.
Because the internet was just a playground for fun.
Yeah, just like, yeah.
Yeah,
It's so
the internet?
Fun.
Yeah,
so
it's
fun and
pretty
stupid.
fun.
It's stupid and fun. And we were just having stupid fun together.
I go there when I want to learn and have fun.
And now people are like, the truth
that the government doesn't want you to know.
And it's like, that's what's happening. But then we look back and nobody's like, boy, it's a bad thing that books happened, you know?
That's true. You do see the overall, the good outshines in
like
the long
books,
run.
the world is better with books.
Yes.
And I think that the world is better, or at least will be better, with the sort of many-to-many communication, whatever it is that we call it.
It is tough though, because there are more, like there's this crazy messy period and then there's an equilibrium.
Yeah.
Right? And there's more things being introduced before the equilibrium has been
That's what scares me.
Found with the previous technology.
Yeah, to be in the messy part of the communications revolution of many-to-many communication, and then to add a new revolution of non-human communicators. I'm like, that seems like also a really big deal. And we're not done with the current shock, and now you want to add a new one?
Mm-hmm. Also because laws take a while to catch up to technology, and because technology is exponentially
and
increasing.
Not just laws, but like human behavior and like our response, and like like figuring out the sort of norms and taboos. Because I feel like we're starting to get a little bit better.
A little bit.
Yeah, which is great. Like that's very much different. Like even like getting worse slower is good.
That means that you're reaching an equilibrium a little.
Maybe you will go back down.
There. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Do you ever feel like your brain is getting in its own way? Like you know what you should do or what's good for you, but you just can't seem to do it? Therapy helps you figure out what's holding you back, so you can now work for yourself instead of against yourself. As I'm sure many of you know, I've been a huge advocate of therapy since I started going about 6 years ago. It's helped me in almost every facet of my life, whether dealing with anxiety or depression, or just the day-to-day struggles of being human. Therapy has been a guiding light for me. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, BetterHelp might be perfect for you. It's 100% online, and it's designed to work around your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, and you'll be matched with a certified and licensed therapist. Plus, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional cost. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Give BetterHelp a try. Visit betterhelp.com/Padilla today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Padilla. I mean, you've been doing so many different things, and it's kind of in the zeitgeist now that YouTubers are starting to retire, you know, with the news about MatPat and whatnot, and people are like, anyone over the age of 25 probably thinking about retiring.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you are on that path, or do you feel like you were just so creatively excited about so many different things that you wouldn't even be able to necessarily say that you're retiring?
For me, I think that if I said I was retiring, there'd be like people in my community, like in my audience, would have a bunch of separate thoughts that would be like, which thing, and like the biggest, like are we not gonna make Vlogbrothers anymore, which we've been doing for 18 years, and there's been a video like at least once a week on that channel for that whole time. You know, that's the biggest question in my head, is like at some point we will stop, you know, because at some point we will be dead. So like there's a time where we stop. Like there's I know that.
Bro, don't remind me of our mortality at a time like this
again.
Well, don't remind me of your mortality at a time like this.
Eventually, I will die.
Okay.
And it will be soup, and it will be gross.
You'll turn into soup. You won't be found for 6 days, 6 weeks.
So like the idea of like stopping that is like that's the most present thought in my mind. Whereas like stepping back from Complexly, and like having it go off, or like not hosting SciShow for a while, like those are all like jobs I have, but they're not like the thing I do.
You're gonna have to start to pick and choose what you do.
Yeah.
Because
I often don't get to choose what I do, unfortunately.
Or when you do.
Yeah.
Or how long the do is.
Or how long you do. It's true. I like you. It's so hard to control how long you do.
Yeah. Are we making inside references that no one's gonna get?
I don't think
Unless
so.
they were
I think everybody's here. I think they come along with the path with us.
They're at the comedy show. They know what. If they've seen your show, they know what you're talking about.
But it is an interesting thing about success is that failure is an end, and success is just like a thing that keeps happening until failure happens. So like success isn't like a end state, whereas failure is. So like success can oftentimes be like, oh, this thing is succeeding, and so now we have to do it until we decide to stop. And making the decision to stop can be very hard.
So that is almost in a weird sense, burden of success. It is the idea that now I have to choose when to stop.
Yeah, because
it's easy
you
to just
suddenly have.
continue.
Somebody said, I think last night in a conversation with me, they used the word optionality. Like I have a lot of optionality now, which I've never had before. Now it's like that's very Silicon Valley of you. I don't know.
That word doesn't need to exist.
I don't know exactly what that means, but it sounds like the kind of thing that people in Silicon Valley say. Thank you for, by the way, choosing with your optionality to do this.
Oh,
with me, but also with all the other people because I love the show.
Really?
Yeah.
I thank you.
I learned so much.
It's so hard for me.
I love YouTubers. I love creators.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Well, I appreciate that.
He's also very handsome. It's kind of weird to be in the room with him. Like, you think he's cute in 2 dimensions?
Hank, don't make us get 3D cameras in here. Those are very expensive. You mentioned to me that you have a way to earn people college credit now.
Oh yeah. We started to like look at like what the like problems that people who are going into education, like their higher education journeys, are facing, and it's like it's confusing. There's a lot of information that not everybody has access to, and especially people who are maybe first generation students. Like it's easy to make mistakes that turn out to be expensive mistakes. There's also like you have to choose whether to do it or not, and like sometimes the sales pitches that colleges or schools will do aren't like, I don't think that they're they're as honest as maybe they should be. And then there's just like the cost. Like there's a real cost barrier to education. And so we were looking at like, okay, we're not gonna fix this problem, we're not gonna revolutionize anything, but like how do we like incrementally look at this? And so we created with Arizona State University and YouTube, worked together, we were like, let's look at these problems and like incremental solution. Let's just make it easier to get sort of like base like some early credits that you're going to need for a lot of different majors.
It's like the general education credits?
Yeah, exactly. The idea is study hall, which is gostudyhall.com. I don't know if that camera is even working.
That's the camera's not on.
Okay.
That was for the intro. Talk to that one there.
Okay.
Say it again right there. For
I thought I maybe had a second angle.
There's no red light there.
So study hall, which is at gostudyhall.com. Basically, you can watch YouTube videos. They're free for anybody. You can watch it at the Study Hall YouTube channel. You can also enter into a cohort. They like start at certain times. So like you sign up and then you're in the group of people that are taking this course. That's $25. And then at the end of that process, if you think you learned it well and you got a good grade in the class that you took and you want to get transferable college credit that you can use at hundreds of universities in the US, you can pay for it. And it's like it's like 2/3 of the cost of what you usually pay. It's $400 for the credits.
So give them a little taste test to decide,
and it's
a little
like
sampler.
Yeah, and also like it takes the risk out of sort of dipping your toe in to like going back to school.
That probably is one of the bigger, aside from the cost, of course, that is probably one of the bigger reasons that people don't
for sure
dive in, because you got to go all in.
A lot of times you do.
Yeah. You've just introduced so many new ways for people to do so many new things and learn so many new things. And, you know, you've done it with educational things. You've done it now with this deep, vulnerable look at you and your experience with cancer. And I just have to say, I think that you're changing so many people's lives in such a positive way, even if you don't get the chance to sit down and really acknowledge that.
Even if I'm not around to be here. Because of death.
Okay, so that's why you're recording this forever, right? This is why the content that you make lives on the internet digitally forever.
Yeah, they'll do the AI thing, and I'll live inside of a computer. It won't really be me, but it'll still make videos.
Yeah, we were thinking about having you come out, just do a quick 360 turn, and we say, got it, good to go. We'll fill in the rest.
We got plenty of audio.
Plenty of audio.
You can definitely clone me.
Yeah, the AI will write it, and you'll be good. So what is next? Do you think that you'll continue? Like, do you have this drive to just continuously provide people with new services that benefit humanity in this way?
I don't know what the feeling of obligation is. Like, I do feel it though. I feel like, I don't know if it's like the Spider-Man thing, you know, I feel like I have some power. I feel like there's responsibility that comes with that. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I feel that weight really heavily, and I need people in my life to like talk me out of it to some extent.
So like you'll be like too caught up in, I need to do something positive. Or
Yeah, and like I have often considered myself to be like a shared resource. Like it's not mine. It's for, And like, I think that that's healthy to some extent. Like we all have that. Like we have people who depend on us. We want to share we want to support people when they need support.
The only way to support others though is if you have that foundation.
Right.
There,
and I feel like I do sometimes and I don't sometimes. Like I think it is a real problem for me where there have been times in my life where I'm sort of floating around, not at all focused on what's good for me. And so I've been trying to deal with that. But things that really excite me are often things I haven't done before. So the comedy is a part of that. I've never written a nonfiction book, and I make a huge amount of nonfiction content. Obviously, it's I mostly make content about like real things and science stuff, and but I've never done that in like a long form text format. I'm very interested in that. I'm very interested in, is there a way, now that I've told the cancer story through a stand-up, is there a way to tell it in maybe a book form where also I get into like some of the science of cancer and cancer treatment? That would hopefully, and also maybe a little bit of like, what can you expect? So like just helpful thing for people who have cancer or who have friends who do.
I think it's interesting that you think of yourself as a shared resource. Let's unpack that.
I really do. I even like that. It's not that. I think it can be healthy. Like we're not here forever, right? So like we have like a moment of being part of humanity, and like what are we gonna do with that moment? And like everybody, like nobody changes the world by themselves. No one doesn't change it at all. And so like what are we doing together to like? We are like the ants. It is very much. I'm a little bit like I think that humanity has like an illusion, like that you could easily ascribe consciousness. Like if you looked at humanity, you might be like, that is a conscious organism, like made up of lots of individuals.
You feel like that was more of a reminder that we are all connected in that way?
Yeah, and also not just in the moment, but over the span of humanity or the span of life. It's a very weird thing to be a part of. Like we think we're so normal. Because like we're around us all day, we're so weird.
I mean, besides this, and then besides
that's part of it.
Yeah,
that's part of the weird wet flapping that we do to talk is also definitely weird. But like I don't know, like as far as we know, there's no other part of the universe that looks at itself and it's like that's universe, you know?
Right. Yeah. And
I am not on drugs.
This is just angry thoughts.
Yeah, this is just cancer.
Yeah, that's is the cancer what made you start thinking about like?
I mean,
really
I've certainly thought about it, but I hadn't been as in touch with it. You know,
the mortality kind of like
not just the mortality, but like we're just because you and me are only here for a little bit doesn't mean that we're not part of a broader continuum that's going to be around for a lot longer and has been around for a lot longer than any individual.
Yeah, it's scary, and I think a lot of people do hope that they make a lasting impact, and that's what they're really like their main life goal is. Like I want to do something that changes the world. Yeah. But in a sense, every single person, regardless of what you do or don't do, you are changing the world in some way just because you affect one small piece of the giant puzzle.
And like what drives it? Because I'm so interested not just in accomplishment but in fuels. Like so like I think accomplishment is great. I think that like achievement, like doing things that like affect and like improve people and the world is like, you know, so cool to be like that's a human story. It's amazing all the things that we have done so far and that it works, and I feel like it's gonna keep working. I think that there's some like self-correction mechanism that keeps it working just like life has, that like that whatever we are, we're different from just life in some way. And
consciousness aspect.
Yeah. And the dual, like the shared, like you have one and I have one, and like what is this thing between us?
Although ants, the pheromones of the air, they do the same.
I was just thinking like ants have pheromones, and that's how they control each other.
You can almost see it as a connection in the air, but we have this connection here too. Even the vibrations in the air.
We have the vibrations. We've got the love. We've got the like care.
I think there's unspoken.
There's stuff.
Feeling that we feel
there might be some smell too.
I'm sure I can't pick up on it.
But it might be there. What the fuck?
It's there. No, it's there. We are all connected in some way.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's something that binds it all together. And I think that the reason why communications technologies are so disruptive is because the thing that connects us is communication in whatever way that we do it. And I think that a lot of the fuel behind wanting to change the world is a fuel that says, I want to be immortal. And that's a lie. That's a lie fuel. Whereas a true fuel is, I want to make the world better for other people.
Is there a sense of peace that comes from the idea that it is not about accomplishing everything and in this one moment with this one life, with this one very short, is there a sense of peace that comes with realizing that you are part of a much larger
I bet
thing?
there is. If I did better a job of it.
Yeah.
But like, it's one thing to be like, I think this is true. I think this is real. I think that I'm definitely an individual, but I'm definitely a part of something that's much bigger and much more important than just me. But like, to the extent that I can actually internalize it, right? Like, I'm like, if cancer came back tomorrow and I would not be at peace. I would there's so much.
Yeah, I feel like it's easy to say that you're at peace in the right moment. But.
Yeah. Another friend of mine who is a YouTuber who got cancer, I texted him and I said, I just don't feel like I'm done yet. And he was like, nobody feels like they're done, man. And I was like, that's a good reminder. Like, when I die, I'm not gonna feel like I'm done.
Right.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, I think there is an idea that like, oh, when I'm this age, I'll feel like I did it.
Yeah.
And I'll be okay.
Yeah.
That's never happening.
Maybe for some people, but like, I feel like it mostly doesn't happen. I feel like people you want to see your grandkids grow up. Mm-hmm. You want to see your great-grandkids. You want to see it. You want to be there. You want to see what the future has, and you want to exist,
Mm-hmm. So that brings us to the final question of the day. Why does everything become a crab?
It's just a good thing to be.
It's a good thing to be.
Yeah. I mean,
it's got optimal form, plenty of legs, low to the ground, can move pretty quickly, left, right, don't need to go forward so much.
It's just it's literally just like a good form. And like they're working with similar tools. So like all these things that turned into bugs are all turned into crabs.
They're not bugs. They're not bugs, god damn it.
They're kind of bugs.
They're like as close to a bug as you could get without being a bug.
Yeah,
right?
They're like a bug that fish.
I knew it would happen. I knew the bug
fish would come back.
I knew it would happen.
The moment you brought up crabs.
I knew it would happen.